So let's talk really quick. There are some hot topics on the board, literally, here when it comes to the fitness industry. Flexibility and mobility. What the heck do those things mean? Usually people refer to them as the same exact thing. So what we're going to do is delineate the two of these and put them in their own categories. They are similar, but they're not the same. It's very important for us to understand what is flexibility and what is mobility. Flexibility you can think of as the passive range of motion of a joint. Passive meaning it can be taken there in general. Something external, hand, takes a joint to the end, as far as it can go. Because it's passive, because I am not working this finger to get there. I'm having something else get there. If I was doing my knee, my hips, passive because I'm using my arms now to help me get up there. Now there's active. Active, because I'm using my own musculature to get it there. Passive. So flexibility is the passive range of motion. Mobility is the active range of motion. How far can you, yourself, your musculature, take that joint? Now, when we're actually working on movements, a lot of the times these two can be thought of one is more important than the other, where in fact they work with each other. It is important, if you're going to do kipping pull-ups, if you're going to do anything above your head forcefully, that you have full range of motion of the shoulders. If this is you, you do not have the full range of motion of your shoulders, so it is important to work on the flexibility to get to the end range, the furthest that shoulder can go. After you have that flexibility, you would want to work the mobility. You would want to work on getting yourself to the same point. This is pretty close. Here's where I can take myself. Here's where I can bring myself. So the idea of adding to your flexibility and then adding strength, it's almost like a strength aspect to that flexibility, which would be your mobility. Now the question is, how do we increase that? A lot of times what's thought of as just the static stretching, holding a position for a prolonged period of time. It has been shown in research that yes, it does make a difference. It does add a little bit of length, or the perception of length, we'll get into that in the future, to a certain joint. Hamstrings, if you do this for long enough, let's say 2 minutes, your body probably has gotten used to it, so it can increase a little bit. But it does not last for very long. What we're finding is that these static stretches are transient, meaning they go away. Let's say, I think they've shown 10, 20 minutes, depending on who you are. So the question is, okay, how can we spend our time more effectively? What I like to do is more focus on this aspect with the mobility. Let's use our hamstrings, for example. The lengthening, so whenever I bend forward, technically my hamstrings are lengthening. Anytime I stand up, they are shortening. So the idea of lengthening would be synonymous with stretching in this aspect. When you lengthen a muscle, it actually strengthens it if you do it correctly, and it stretches it. So let's use a dumbbell, for example. Whenever you go and lower yourself into a position, this is called an eccentric loading of the hamstrings. When I stand up, that's concentric. Eccentric is lengthening of the muscle, but when I'm loading with this dumbbell, I am adding strength because I'm adding to gravity, 15 kilos. So as I'm reaching down, my muscle's lengthening, stretching, but I'm also controlling myself with a weight. So it's adding a strength aspect to it as well. This has actually been shown to increase the length of the muscle, the flexibility, mobility of a muscle over time faster, because they've also found that a weak muscle is actually an inflexible muscle, which is interesting as well. Because you think of, okay, when I get stronger, I get bulky, and I can't move any parts of my body. But actually, a muscle worked at full range of motion is a more flexible muscle. So when it comes to the hamstrings, because that's what most people need to work on, or so they think, is the idea of adding a load, which would be the weight, and lowering yourself into a position. The longer you spend at the end of the range, the better you would do. So this is an example of what you can do for your hamstrings. Grab your load, whatever it is. You can start light, work your way up. Slowly push your butt back, chest comes forward, legs are staying straight, my back is staying straight, lowering to a point where my hamstrings feel like they're gonna explode, which is right about here. Hold this for 2 to 3 seconds, stand back up, do it again, slowly lower, working that eccentric. I'm gonna try to go lower. Woo! Oh yeah. Hold it for 2 to 3 seconds, stand back up, you get the idea. Keep going lower and lower and lower. So technically you can even see and feel, okay, I'm going deeper, going deeper, going deeper, which is lengthening that muscle, but at the same time it is locking in the stretch with a strength aspect. So it's no longer just the idea of stand there, stretch for a little bit. It is the idea of exercise at the same time as you are stretching, working on that mobility, which will then reciprocally work on the flexibility. It's very important for you guys, because you're busy people, to maximize the time that you are given. This foam rolling for 10 minutes, static stretching for 10 minutes is a waste when you only have so much time. It has been shown that weighted stretching, eccentric work, like I just showed you with the hamstrings, it can be done for almost any joint, actually has close or more of the effects of stretching for increased flexibility and mobility than foam rolling or just static stretching. So it's all about maximizing your time. If you have any more questions, because I know this is a little bit of a confusing topic, make sure to let me know. Ask me, feel free, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, just let me know. And we'll go over more in the future, because earlier I said the perception of stretching. That is a whole topic in and of itself. A lot of this is actually in your brain. So we'll talk about that in the future. But make sure to stay tuned to the rest of the videos. Like I said, ask me if you have questions. And thank you for watching. Make sure to give this a try.